The story of the year 2021 could not be told without mentioning the Netflix show Squid Game. Pretty much if you don't know what I'm talking about, you must be living under a rock, but pretty much this Netflix show developed in Korea called Squid Game shattered all the company records and took the year 2021 by storm. So crazy that it actually became the most successful product that Netflix has ever released, turning the $21 million that it cost to actually make Squid Game and turning it into almost $1 billion profit, coming in around $900 million brought in 2021 from the show. Squid Game's success is not just important about the actual show itself or the money it brings in, but also businesses can learn a thing or two about the creative process that went into making the show and how it became so successful. But we'll talk about that later in this video. For now, let's find out how Squid Game became the most watched show in Netflix history. To give some background on the show Squid Game, essentially the series revolves around a game where 456 people in Korea who are all in financially debt are invited to this very secret remote location where they're surrounded by guards, and they're basically put into a 6-game series where they have to compete, and the last person standing would be awarded 45.6 billion won, which is essentially $38 million US. As the characters are going through the 6 games, pretty much if you lose the game, you die. And if you move on to the next game, you get closer and closer to being the last person standing that's going to be able to take home all the money and pay off all your debts. So how did the concept of this kind of financial debt remake of the Hunger Games become so successful worldwide? Well, for starters, Squid Game's process of the first season follows the general techniques of how to reel people in as a marketer. The first episode is one of the most insane pilot episodes I've personally ever seen, and I know a lot of people were extremely taken back by the risky and extreme vivid events that take place in that first episode. I don't want to leave any spoilers, but it kind of catches you off guard. That kind of insane hook immediately drew people in, got them curious, just like any good marketing technique, where it's followed in the second episode where they take a step back and they tell a story. They dive into the actual characters. Many of them throughout the entire series, you learn in this one episode pretty much their entire backstory while keeping it interesting. Another great marketing tactic by trying to be relatable to the viewer and creating a story surrounding this series. Essentially, the events that followed were able to keep viewers' retention and keep them excited all the way up until the season finale, as people got to actually watch the crazy events that unfolded following that insane hook in the first episode. The entire series pretty much resembles a great marketing strategy, and eventually the reason why it continued to blow up is people would recommend this show to their friends. A lot of memes and great content was pulled from this show and spread all over the internet, just resulting in more and more hype that got people to watch it. Another thing that's came into play is the revolving success around the location where this was filmed, which is Korean media. And you see this back in 2019 where the movie Parasite won Best Picture. There's a lot of successful shows coming out of there, and Squid Game has just been the cherry on top with great production media coming from Korea. Another interesting story to add to the creative process of how this show was created and eventually blowing up Netflix was the director for the show, Hwang Dong-hook, actually wrote the show 10 years ago, and it took this long for Netflix or any other production studio to actually pick it up. To just add to that great marketing strategy throughout the entire season, at the end of season 1, they added in a little tidbit that kind of makes you think as a viewer that season 2 is coming, ultimately keeping more people on edge and talking about the season, not just being done with it as a season 1. The viewers actually have something now more to look forward to. So after going through all that background, how did the show inevitably break Netflix financially? So to throw some crazy stats at you, Squid Game is not only the most watched foreign TV show in Netflix history, it's also the most watched show in Netflix history, coming in at number 1 in 1.6 billion viewing hours of the show. This by far passes the number 2 slot, which is actually Bridgerton, with only 600 million. So over 1 billion separates the first and second place in the number of hours watched for a show on Netflix, and Squid Game takes number 1. Another amazing stat is that at the time, Squid Game was the number 1 most watched show in 94 countries around the world. And just to reiterate from the beginning of the video, Squid Game only cost $21 million to make from Netflix, but the project ended up bringing them $900 million in revenue. So what can businesses learn from Squid Game in their creative process? Well, for starters, look at how their season is crafted like a great story and marketing pitch. When trying to create content, sell yourself, or sell a business, pretty much You have to reel people in with an amazing hook that immediately grabs their attention. It might have to be risky, and you have to take risks in order to see what's going to attract as many people as possible. Second would be, you got to have a great story behind it. Be relatable to your viewer, be relatable to the target customer, be relatable to the person that you're trying to reach and sell to. Squid Game does this by touching on the hearts of the millions of people that watched it. By diving deep into characters more than just the main couple people, they dove into sub-characters and really tugged on those heartstrings and get you invested in the show and rooting for a lot of these people. This is similar to how a customer, if they find that your story about your product or about you or your content is relatable, then getting to find some form of connection between the two of you will be able to bring them closer to your brand. Then next, what you want to do is look at how Squid Game is able to retain so much excitement and viewership all the way up until the end of the season. Pretty much, you want to be able to keep the customers attracted, the viewer attracted to the thing that you're trying to present, to what you're trying to continue to build that bond and keep people excited about what you're presenting to the world. And as Squid Game delivered on bringing a crazy season finale, you need to actually deliver well on that product and deliver on the message that you want to carry across to the viewer or customer. And the last tidbit of what people can look at Squid Game and take from is that you want to be able to create as much buzz as possible, word of mouth, as well as organic reach for your product, your brand, your vision, your message. You want people to be able to create humor around it, create memes, create, just really positive feedback and energy surrounding your product just out in the community. This happened a lot with Squid Game, with the memes and people just being so excited about what was happening in the show. And you want to be able to create the same sort of environment for your business or personal brand. And so ultimately, looking at Squid Game, you don't want to overlook it as just like some very successful, crazy TV show that ended up breaking Netflix. What you want to be able to do is observe it as from a more deep dive perspective and take away what you can learn from it of what I've just explained in this video and be able to apply it to your real life and your business, and maybe you'll be able to have the same exact success that Hwan Dong-hook, the director, and the amazing cast that put on their performances had with this show. Go ahead and comment down below if you're ready for Squid Game Season 2, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of great content coming for y'all, and we'll see you in the next video.